Hi guys, it's Michelle, and today's video is going to be yet another pop culture conspiracy theories video for you guys. If you know anything about me, you know I am obsessed with pop culture. I love anything to do with celebrities, to do with celebrity drama. It's just like one of my favorite things to talk about, not gonna lie. These are low-key some of my favorite videos to film. So without further ado, let's get into the pop culture theories. All right, the first theory I want to talk about is about Billie Eilish. I feel like this theory is very interesting. I saw it on TikTok and I was just like, I could believe that. I could get down with it. I think it could be true, but it's basically the theory that Billie and her brother Phineas have been lying about their ages this entire time. So you might ask yourself, why would Billie and Phineas lie about their age? A lot of people think that it's because they wanted the world to think that they were like these musical prodigies. I mean, literally when Billie was first introduced to Hollywood, she was new. The big reason that I feel like she got really popular was because she was so young. So many people were just so astounded that such a young person could be creating this type of music. When Ocean Eyes was released, she was only 13 years old. That's pretty crazy. That was her debut single, and obviously her brother Phineas is a composer and helps co-write music. He was only 18 years old at the time, which is very impressive to come out with a #1 song at such a young age. So a lot of people believe that Billie and Phineas have been lying about their age to make it seem more impressive and just kind of using it as a business strategy to get more people to listen to their music in the beginning. And honestly, if this were true by only a couple of years, we would never know. So I think it's pretty interesting. I don't know if I believe it's true, but I would like to hear your guys' thoughts on it. Again, most people think that the ages are only slightly fudged. Maybe Billie was 17 at the time of Ocean Eyes instead of 13, and Phineas was really 22, which I guess would be more believable, but still impressive. So I don't know if I believe this theory. I definitely can understand why people do. I also feel like Phineas and Billie both look their ages, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were 2 to 3 years older than they said they were. Who knows? But let me know what you guys think about this theory. I'm unsure how I feel about it overall, honestly. I kind of don't know. All right, the next conspiracy theory I want to talk about has to do with Miss Lilo, Lindsay Lohan. I really love Lindsay Lohan. Genuinely a lot, and it makes me so happy to see her doing well again. So there is a pretty dark conspiracy theory that Lindsay Lohan actually has a secret twin. I'm assuming that The Parent Trap is kind of the big reason why people believe this theory, because Lindsay Lohan was a first-time actor. It is kind of shocking that she was cast to play the role of both Hallie and Annie in The Parent Trap, because she's a new actor. That's a lot for a kid to take on, to do 2 separate roles. It's a lot of work. I think that's the general concept of where this theory came from to begin with. And what I will say, Parent Trap, one of my favorite movies as a kid. I always knew that it was Lindsay Lohan in both roles, but that never really felt true. And I hope that someone can relate to me on this, because I would never normally believe a theory like this. We've talked about the Avril Lavigne clone theory. That's kind of a theory that I'm what's the point of it being a theory? However, I will say about Lindsay Lohan and The Parent Trap is I feel like there is such a stark difference between Annie and Hallie that it genuinely does feel like 2 different people. That could just be because Lindsay is a great actress, but this is her first role. Let's take that into account. Secondly, this was the 90s, so the technology wasn't as good back then. And thirdly, I don't feel like it's just because they're acting different. I genuinely feel like I can see a difference between Hallie and Annie. Even when Annie cuts her hair short as well. I actually feel like I could tell them apart, which is crazy because they're the same person, theoretically. But according to this theory, a lot of people think that Lindsay Lohan had a secret twin named Kelce Lohan, and she was playing either Hallie or Annie alongside with her sister, Lindsay. The most common theory about what happened to Kelce Lohan is that she died right before The Parent Trap was set to be released. Basically, instead of scrapping the movie or having the movie surround the death of a tragic young child, Disney didn't want any of that negative press, but they also didn't want to throw away the movie as a whole. So Disney paid Lindsay Lohan's family hush money to act like Kelce Lohan never existed, and to go along with the narrative that Lindsay Lohan had played both Hallie and Annie. Again, I feel like this is something that I would never normally believe, because I just think it's it's stupid. I do get what people are saying when they say that the twins look different. Like, they genuinely look different. I don't know. I need to hear you guys' thoughts on this because it's honestly freaking me out. However, I will say something that is strange is in 2007, Lindsay Lohan was in a movie called I Know Who Killed Me, where she basically plays a girl who had a secret long lost twin who was murdered by like a serial killer. And then after that was released, she started kind of having a public downfall where Lindsay was like really getting into drugs and just partying, going out all the time. And a lot of people think that those two events correlate and that her working on this movie just like uncovered some underlying emotions that she had about her real life twin sister Kelce and her death and the cover up of it. It's a pretty fucking dark theory, I will say it, but I kind of could see where people believe it. But let me know your guys' thoughts. All right, the next theory that we're going to be talking about has to do with Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, America's sweethearts. But I guess some girl from Vanderpump Rules. I don't really know much about the Housewives. Honestly, everything I do know about the Housewives / Vanderpump Rules has been forced upon me by my mom and my sister, but I'm not really into it. But either way, I know who Lala Kent is because of them. And she recently came out saying that she allegedly heard that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's relationship is all for PR. This is a concept that has not crossed my mind too much, besides when it was a whole conspiracy regarding the Super Bowl and like politics. I never really thought that they were a PR stunt because what's the PR there? Like getting Swifties to watch football, getting football players to listen to Taylor Swift. Like, it didn't really make sense to me. I could not have predicted, but maybe a PR like person who is a professional at this could have predicted that their relationship would just blow the fuck up. Like, honestly, so intensely. Some people believe, and I feel like this is the theory I'm leaning more towards, is that the relationship itself didn't start as a publicity stunt, but once everyone started to gain so much interest and obsession over their relationship, that is when they decided to kind of keep rolling with the punches, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like they don't necessarily have to be as public as they are, and honestly, I don't know how I feel about it. I've always felt weird about public relationships just because, like, if you let too many people in on your relationship, those people are going to eventually ruin it. The more that they talk about the relationship, the more that they put out there, the more people have to use against them in kind of a weird way. And I think that the reason that Taylor Swift's longest relationship was her and Joe Alwyn, and I think it's because it wasn't that publicized. I feel like if you're a Swiftie, obviously you're, you know, really involved, so you would know that who she's dating and whatever, but it was nowhere near as blown up as Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, and I just think that that gives like a sense of fake feeling to the entire thing, because then it's like, are you saying and doing this because it's nice and sweet and we're dating, or are you doing that because it's like we're kind of both benefiting off of the publicity of our relationship? And I agree that I don't believe it was supposed to be a publicity stunt, but now it just kind of feels like everything that they do is because they're profiting off of it and benefiting from it, and it's weird. I'm just not really obsessed with it because it just makes it feel fake, but I don't think that they're in a fake relationship. You know what I mean? I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this. But speaking of Taylor Swift, we have some theories with her revolving around Sabrina Carpenter. Sabrina Carpenter has had a sudden rise to fame that a lot of people believe that there is something dark behind it. I feel like anytime we see a celebrity get super famous out of nowhere, it becomes a conspiracy theory, typically involving the Illuminati. Sabrina was obviously on Disney Channel. She's kind of had a steady following growing of her music since then. Until this year specifically, the nonsense outros started going viral on TikTok. The espresso drop, she just all of a sudden was everywhere, which I'm here for it because I fucking love her. And then now, just a month later, Sabrina drops another song called Please Please Please, and again, it goes viral. And I think both of these songs can contribute a lot of their success to TikTok, but conspiracy theorists are wondering if this growth of Sabrina Carpenter is actually organic. So a Twitter user that's now deleted, which is kind of sus, at Mazzy Popstar tweeted, "Like this if Spotify automatically plays her music for you too. I'm trying to see something." And this tweet popped off tons of retweets and a bunch of comments of people agreeing that Spotify will just play Sabrina Carpenter's music out of nowhere. One of the tweets that I found interesting is someone said, quote, "My husband was listening to a podcast in the car and it played Please, Please, Please and then Espresso back to back instead of playing the next podcast episode, which is crazy. Basically, a lot of people who are like, I only listen to pop punk music and I'll be listening to Spotify on shuffle and then all of a sudden Sabrina Carpenter song comes on. Like, I never listen to her, I don't follow her. Why is she all of a sudden popping up on my Spotify? A lot of people think it's a conspiracy theory. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised that I didn't clock this first, but it's because I do listen to Sabrina Carpenter all the time, but it seems like a lot of people are experiencing that. I would love to know if you don't listen to like pop kind of music, have you experienced this? But people are really starting to believe that Spotify is specifically pushing Sabrina Carpenter's music, but my question is why? And I have a few theories as to what this could be. Some people think that Sabrina Carpenter is the new government plant, like the government plant of like Britney Spears and Miley Cyrus at one point, just a distraction. We'll see if Sabrina starts sharing her political opinions like closer to the election. Maybe then I would think that this theory is interesting, but I don't know if I really believe that. Other people think that Sabrina herself is paying for this type of publicity and paying to push her songs and promote them. But I have a theory that I actually really think is so interesting, and if it was true, it would genuinely break my heart because I love all three of these girls, but I won't lie, it kind of adds up. I think a big reason that Sabrina Carpenter has started popping off is because of Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift started hanging out with Sabrina Carpenter, bringing her to award shows with her, and then also had her open for the Eras Tour, which again, on the surface, cute and sweet. However, a lot of people think that Taylor Swift might have some darker motives as to why she wants Sabrina to be so famous. So the connection is between Taylor Swift, Sabrina Carpenter, and Olivia Rodrigo. Obviously, Sabrina Carpenter and Olivia Rodrigo kind of had a public feud. Not really feud, but basically they just both dated the same boy, Joshua Bassett. Driver's License was about Sabrina Carpenter, probably with that blonde girl. You know, the whole 9 yards. Sabrina wrote a song too. It was just a back and forth thing. But both Sabrina and Olivia claim that there's no bad blood between them. Taylor Swift and Olivia Rodrigo, kind of a different story. There's something strange between those two that I just feel like needs to be talked about, and I feel like it's not talked about enough. So Taylor Swift really seemed at first to take Olivia Rodrigo under her wing when Olivia started popping off with Driver's License in 2021. In May of 2021, they met for the first time. Everything seemed to be going really well. Olivia Rodrigo was a huge Taylor Swift fan her whole life. So just having your favorite artist become someone who supports you would be insane. Of course, anyone would love that. It seemed like Taylor Swift and Olivia were both very supportive of each other and each other's music, and it was really cute. But then Olivia talked about how she basically was inspired by Cruel Summer for the bridge of Deja Vu. I guess after she said this publicly on a podcast, Taylor Swift's team wanted to have co-writing credits on the song, which ultimately they did give them co-writing credits. I'm kind of confused exactly as to what happened here because I don't feel like Cruel Summer and Deja Vu are anywhere near alike enough to warrant getting credits on that song for Taylor Swift. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. I don't even think they kind of sound similar. Like, I don't really even hear the inspiration that much. And this kind of sparked controversy that maybe Olivia and Taylor kind of had beef over this, and I think that they did, which is really upsetting because, again, I love both of them. When Olivia was asked about this, she said, quote, "Writing songs about how I feel has always been easy and fun for me, and I think the business side of music has been something I've had a harder time learning. I've just been trying to remember that I write songs because I love them. I think it's disappointing to see people take things out of context and discredit any young woman's work." And later in 2021, she also said, quote, "It was very frustrating to see people discredit and deny my creativity. It seems like people get funny about things when songs become really popular." Which many people speculated this was about Taylor Swift, and I kind of agree. I love Taylor Swift so much, and that's why I'm just like kind of hoping this is all just a conspiracy and it's totally not accurate. Ultimately, a lot of people believe that Taylor Swift basically doubled down, made the biggest mean girl move that she could make, and is making Sabrina Carpenter famous and be blown up to get some sort of like petty revenge against Olivia Rodrigo. And I don't know, like I said, I hope it's not true because I literally love all three of them. The three of them and Ariana Grande are probably my top played artists. This devastates me, but there is something in me that kind of believes that it could be true. The whole Olivia Taylor Swift thing was always really weird to me, and it is true that the way that Taylor Swift has been promoting Sabrina has obviously helped with her career boost from then. I think conspiracy theorists also think that maybe Taylor Swift is paying Spotify to push Sabrina's music and just get her to be the most popular person out of a petty spite to Olivia, and I hate it. Also, what made me really sad is Olivia, well, technically she didn't say this to Rolling Stone, but Alanis Morissette said this and Olivia agreed. There was a lot of bullying and a lot of jealousy, and a lot of people whom I have adored my entire life were being mean girls, and Olivia said same. And I just wish so hard that this isn't true, because I really do love all three of those girls. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this. All right, the next conspiracy theory that we're going to be talking about is all about the Kennedy curse. I 100% believe that this theory is true. The Kennedy family, who is one of America's most famous political dynasties of all time, but unlike any other family that we've ever seen, this family has had so many tragedies and oddities over the years that are just indescribable and weird. I do believe a curse could be brewing. I actually feel like no one's really talked about the origin as to why this curse could exist. I have a theory for this. I don't know if I'm the first person to ever say it. I haven't seen anyone say it, but let me know. But the Kennedys had a very well-kept secret, and that secret was a human being. So Rosemary Kennedy was the eldest Kennedy daughter, and she was JFK's sister. When she was born, she suffered a lack of oxygen at birth, and as she grew up, she kind of failed to hit a lot of the same developmental milestones that other kids were hitting, and eventually that made her family send her to an intellectually disabled school. As she got into her early 20s, she began experiencing very violent mood swings and fits. Basically, it just made her mental illness much more difficult to manage, not only for her, but it also made it more difficult to hide. Kennedy's obviously involved with politics, did not want the spectacle of a mentally ill person being a part of their family. That's when Joseph Kennedy Sr., JFK's father, decided to take matters into his own hands. He decided to subject his daughter Rosemary to a experimental procedure without telling the rest of his family until it was done. It was a lobotomy. Rosemary Kennedy's lobotomy, however, was completely botched and left her with the intellectual capabilities of a 2-year-old and took away her ability to walk and talk, and she spent the rest of her life being cared for at a private institution, hidden away and never discussed again, because her mental illness could prove as damaging for the family's political ambitions. So I kind of believe that the reason the Kennedys are cursed is because of Joseph Kennedy Sr.'s decision to lobotomize Rosemary Kennedy against her will and against the wishes of the family, and just keeping that hidden. All of the curse that came after that on the Kennedy family is just very horrible karma. That's just kind of what I believe, because something weird is definitely going on. So after Rosemary Kennedy's lobotomy, things really went downhill for the Kennedy family and are still going that way to this day. In 1948, Kathleen Kennedy died in a plane crash. In August of 1963, Jackie Kennedy gave birth to Patrick Kennedy, who was her and JFK's son, who died just 39 hours later after many desperate attempts to try and save him. Famously, obviously, on November 22nd of 1963, JFK was assassinated. Then in 1968, his brother Robert Kennedy was also assassinated. In 1999, JFK Jr. died in a plane crash. In August of 2019, Saoirse Kennedy Hill, the granddaughter of Robert F. Kennedy, died in an accidental drug overdose at the Kennedy compound in Massachusetts, and she was only 22 years old. In April of 2020, Maeve Kennedy McCain and her 8-year-old son went missing in Chesapeake Bay, and they were both found drowned. Just think that there's definitely something going on here. There's so much tragedy surrounding this one family that happens to be very famous. Obviously, of course, it's a big family, so stuff's gonna happen, but like so many plane crashes, having more than one assassination is kind of nuts. I think it's all karma to Joseph Kennedy Sr. being such a dick to his daughter. So let me know your guys' thoughts on this, because it is crazy and I definitely believe that there's something weird going on. But let me know what you think. All right, the last theory that I want to talk about is all about P. Diddy. Again, we have some updates and some conspiracy theories coming from P. Diddy's ex-bodyguard. So we've talked pretty extensively about the connection between Tupac, Biggie, and P. Diddy. So we know that Tupac was one of Death Row Records' most famous artists at the time, and Suge Knight is the founder of Death Row Records. And we also know that Biggie Smalls was one of Bad Boy Records' most famous artists, who P. Diddy is the founder of Bad Boy Records. And at that point in time, West Side versus East Side was pretty big rivalry. Tupac versus Biggie. It was a whole thing. Death Row Records versus Bad Boy Records. So a lot of people believe, since Tupac died first, that P. Diddy actually had Tupac killed because they were rivals. And then in retaliation, people think that Suge Knight killed Biggie. But now there's a conspiracy theory that I actually find to be really interesting and kind of makes me think of the whole situation a little differently. And it's that P. Diddy himself killed Biggie Smalls and Tupac. So the theory goes that whether or not it was Diddy who killed Tupac, either way, he saw the success that Death Row Records was getting after Tupac's death. For sure, in death, most of the time the artists are going to be more successful and make more money. So as Diddy saw this happening, and even maybe perpetuated it by killing Tupac, thinking it would be a good idea, but then ended up making his rivals even more money than he meant to, he decided that he should do the same thing and have Biggie be killed, because then he would get that money and success, and it would be even more crazy because Tupac had just died, they were rivals, like famously, it just would have been nuts. And it was. So the reason that this theory recently sparked up was because one of P. Diddy's ex-bodyguards talked about how P. Diddy himself was the person who put the stickers on the hubcaps of Biggie's car the night that he was shot that said Notorious B.I.G., basically marking the vehicle.
I never knew it myself, and I didn't know it that night that those stickers was on the car. I didn't know that till years later. But anytime you see any kind of things like that on a vehicle, on a street sign, on a wall, it comes from the street team. So somebody was put up to do that because they didn't put it on Puff Car. Those cars was rented. It was somebody in our crew that wanted them to know that Big was in that vehicle.
I don't know. It's kind of genius and fucked up if you think about it, but I do think that this could be true. But either way, that is it for today's video. If you guys liked it, please give it a big thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of all of these conspiracy theories. If there's any other pop culture artists that you want me to talk about in a future conspiracy theory video that you're loving at the moment, let me know. But that is it. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, and subscribe for new videos every week. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.